Welcome to On The Bit. I'm Dave from Dream Thoroughbreds, and with me is Lenny from Bluegrass Bloodstock. How are you, Lenny?
Good, Dave.
That's good, mate. The championships start this weekend in Sydney. A new improved version of the Sydney Autumn Carnival at Randwick, and mate, what a fantastic race card, mate. Just as good as the Golden Slipper Day.
Yeah, it is.
4 Group 1s on the card, and pretty much basing our selections on a heavy track this week. Still continuing to rain in Sydney like it is in Melbourne. So first up, mate, we've got the $2 million AJC Derby for 3-year-olds over 2,400 metres. And what do you like in the Derby, mate?
Well, Dave, it's a big field. Thought there was a bit of speed drawn out wide with Surge Ahead.
Yep.
There's not a long run to the first turn there, so there's always a bit of speed, especially with a big field, and I think that's going to suit my pick down to the ground, and that's Gallatin, Dave.
Yeah.
Very dominant win in the Tulloch when he come from last on the turn. Revelled in the heavy ground and finished really strongly. He relaxes like a horse that's looking for the 1.5 miles.
Yeah.
And I think that will suit him more than most, the prospect of a heavy track and the 1.5 miles. I think he's on an upward spiral. He's 5th run in on Saturday and should be reaching peak fitness. And I think he's fantastic value at the 18s and 5s on offer at the moment.
Very nice. Personally, I think there's only one horse that can win this race, and I just think Criterion just absolutely brained them a couple of weeks ago. I think he's been trained to the minute for this race. I just think he stands out heads and shoulders above all the rest of the field in this. He's got Hugh Bowman on board, who's probably the best jockey in Australia in a staying race. He ran 4th in the Vic Derby last year when he had to make a long run around him. So I'm pretty confident he'll run the distance. He's 5th run in as well, so I just think he's cherry ripe. He may get back in the run, but don't be surprised from the barrier 1 if Bowman actually sits him forward and just lets him settle. And I just think when they sprint over the rise, I think he'd just be too good for him. I think he'd just donkey licks them. I looked at the pace that they ran the Tulloch compared to the Rosehill Guineas. I just think it was a better race, the Rosehill Guineas, the week before. I reckon put down your glasses, mate. $3.50 all day. I'm on the pit with that, and I'm very confident that Thunder Fantasy can run the exacta in this race as well. So I'd be interested in having a go at that exacta. Next up, mate, is the $2.5 million weight for age TJ Smith Stakes over 1,200 metres, mate, and another big field for the TJ.
It is, Dave. Looking at the race, I keep coming back to probably the best horse in the race at the moment is Lankan Rupee.
Yep.
He's been the dominant sprinter in Australia of late. He's won the 2 biggest sprints that we've got in Australia in very dominant style. He gets an inside gate, which I think is going to suit him perfectly because there is a lot of speed in this race, and he's obviously going to have the fence which he can use, whilst the others are going to have to work to sort of get across.
Yeah.
The 2 question marks obviously for him would be going Sydney way and the prospect of the heavy track, but I think he pretty much put that to bed with the way he trialled the other day.
Yeah.
Weight for age conditions suit him. Most of the field would probably be getting weight off him at handicap conditions, so I think he's well in, and $3.70 on offer. I think he's on the bit for mine. I think the import Gordon Lord Byron coming back with the prospect of a lot of speed in a race in the heavy track, I think he'll sprint really well as well.
Yeah, I think the only thing that can beat Lankan Rupee here is really the heavy track. He's never raced on a track worse than dead. Barrier 1 may not be the best place to be later on in the day at Randwick on a heavy track. So that's really my only sort of question mark. Otherwise you should trail Buffering in the run, who's certain to lead from the barrier 2, and I just think you can come off the back of Buffering over the rise. I do expect them they'll probably try and get off the fence coming around that turn.
Yep.
and slide off the fence and sort of get to the nice part of the track. But I do think Lankan Rupee will probably win this as well. I'm pretty confident Buffering will improve though. I think the heavy track will sort of help Buffering. and he should get the lead here. A few of the other speedsters are drawn way out wide, so yeah, it's going to make it difficult for them to get across and put a lot of pressure on and stay in this race. So I do think it's between those two. The third Group 1, mate, is the $1 Million AJC size produce for 2-year-olds over 1,400 metres. And who do you like in the size produce, mate? The second leg of the Triple Crown.
Yeah, Dave, I really like the run of the Jill Ryan horse, Believe Yourself, in the slipper. Really found the line good. She handled the ground well. Sort of got home like a horse that wants the 1,400. She didn't do a lot of work. She just sort of settled back and sort of come up inside them, which I think is going to help her, considering she's backing up a week later. I think also, as evidence in the slipper, the filly's getting the 2 kilo concession off the cogs. I think it makes a huge difference. So she's obviously going to get that concession again. And you know, the prospect of the heavy track's going to suit her. And $4 at the moment with the corporates. Jill Ryan just flying with the 2-year-olds. So she's on the bit for mine. Yeah, I really love the run of Camoan in the Pago a couple of weeks ago in this. He was slow to begin, settled last, and then made a long sustained run to just get beat by 0.2 of a length. He was coming into that race first up off a break, although he had a soft trial under his belt. I expect him to improve really sharply for this race. He's by Lonrail, and I do think he'll be suited by the extra 200 metres of this race. He'll be strong at the end, and I think he'll be the one they all have to beat. He's going to be $6 at the moment. I just think he's a great bet each way in a fairly even race. I must mention unencumbered in this race. He's $11 fixed in the early markets, and if by any chance this track does improve to a slow 6, I think he's still right in this race, right up to his ears, because he was set for the Triple Crown. And although he may have looked disappointing last start, I really don't think he handles the really wet track. So if the track improves, he can actually sit forward in this race, and I think he's right in the mix as well. The final Group 1 on the card, the fourth one for the day, is the $3 million Doncaster handicap over 1,600 metres. And boy, mate, is this a sensational field for this lineup. Intriguing race, Dave. Chances everywhere.
Yeah.
I think the horses up in the weights, although they look on papers like being genuine chances, I think they're going to struggle compared. There's a couple down in the weights. Obviously, Wary Frank the Form, Machines last week winning impressively. They both have no weight on their back, so they handle wet tracks. They're going to be hard to hold out, but my pick is a horse that's been flying under the radar somewhat in Royal Descent. She's been on heavy 10 ground twice, and she's run a third over 1,400 and then won the Oaks by 10 lengths on heavy 10. She loves it. Her Coolmore run was really eye-catching. She was well back and got to the line really good, and as Chris Waller does in between, he just chucks a little trial into him, and that trial was lovely. She just didn't do much. I think she's really looking for the mile. Randwick, she loves the track. She's been a winner there twice. She's drawn very wide, but she'll just get back, and then all Doncasters, they go pretty quick, and she'll get her chance to get home. And she's about $16 at the moment, and I think she's each way all day on the bit for mine.
Yeah, another race where the favourite Massini has not raced on anything worse than dead as well. So you have to query whether he's going to be explosive enough on a heavy track. But he's drawn outside our Rocker, who's likely to come across the field at the start and may give Massini the good card across the field. And he may actually be sitting one out, one back after a few hundred metres. So if the track dries out and that happens, he'll be in the box seat, and he's going to be mighty hard to beat. But given the track is likely to be heavy, there's two horses that really stand out for me as well. There's two with a bit of value. Sacred Falls, I think he's been set for this race. His preparation has been timed to peak on this day. He won the Doncaster last year, and he can handle a heavy track well. He's drawn a nice barrier. He'll be sitting 3 or 4 pairs back in the run, and he'll be close enough to win it over the rise. A huge chance in this, and Zach Purton on board is due to win a big race in Australia soon. He's $13 each way. And I agree with you, Royal Descent is well in this race. She finally gets into a race well in at the weights, drops 4 kilos on her last run. She absolutely thrives on heavy tracks. She trialled enormous against Zoostar last week, probably better than Zoostar, and absolutely was under a stranglehold. She's primed for this race as well. Last start she was given an impossible task. You couldn't win on that track getting back. She got back to last and come down the outside where it was really favouring the on paces. So for her to run fourth in that field was an enormous run. She's $15, $16, fabulous value in this race, and I wouldn't let her under your guards as well. So a big day of Group 1. So stable news, Lenny. Any stable news for this week?
Just entirely better ran last week.
Yeah, good run. Unlucky, mate.
Yeah, unlucky. So our little staying prospect got her first chance over 2,000. So she'll go next week over 1.5 miles, and we'll have a look at her then. But a win's not far away for her.
Riding her back helped, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
We've got a few trialling tomorrow. The Dewporth Colt due date trials again tomorrow at Rose Hill. Bjorn Baker is really expecting him to approve again. He'll be ready to race after that trial. And anyone interested in getting into him can contact me on 0416 105 666. So he's great value if you want to get into a ready-made racehorse. Arnina, our fast-head rock filly, trials down the straight at Flemington tomorrow morning. She'll just be given an easy trial for the first trial, and she'll trial again in 2 weeks before she goes to the races. And Extra-Ski, mate, the one that you picked out for us, she'll trial at Flemington down the straight as well. She's likely to run next weekend at Mornington, but we'll give more details next week when that's all confirmed. So so that's some horses hoping to run in the next few weeks. Best on breeding, Lenny. Who's your best on breeding for the week?
Best on breeding is at Caulfield, race 7, number 1, Elite L. She's by the very good sire in Shamadell, who side around 50 stakes winners, including the champion 3-year-old filly in Faint Perfume. It's out of the very good producer Mystic L, has left 2 stakes performers in Elite L and Classic L, as well as the good racehorse in True Tales. She's 3 to ace, and they're all winners. Mystic L's buying Costa Lago out of a Fast Century mare, so it's a lovely family. Yeah,
she loves the wet too. Value bets. This is value to me. It's Morfordville race 5, number 1 at Clare Big Bang. Quality colt. I'm beaten first up. I'm beaten at the Morfordville 1,050 metre track. Up against a handy field, but I just think this colt's all class. He's $4.40 third favourite. I just think he's value in this race, and I'll take that all day. Thank you. On the bit, who's your on the bit special for the weekend, mate?
Dave, it's actually one that you made last start when it won.
I nearly made her on the bit too.
Race 6, number 1, May's Dream. She won really well, as you sort of pointed out prior to her race last start. Now she steps up to the 1800, which is only going to suit her better. She was one of the top fillies in the spring last year, and she looks like she's come back just as good. She's only carrying 3 kilos above the minimum. It's a big field where there should be good speed, which will suit her from barrier 8. She should just get in behind them and be too good, and she's on the bit for mine at the 320.
Yeah, I agree. On the bit as well for me is Randwick race 2, number 1, Gypsy Diamond. This filly has had the flashing light on her every run this prep. They tried to get her in the Doncaster field, but she's the emergency, so they've given her a run in this easier Group 3 race against a moderate bunch. She trialled enormous also against Lankan Rupee last week, and this will get your day off to a great start at Randwick for the championships. On the bit for mine. Off the bit, Lenny. Who are we laying this week, mate?
We're laying race 7, number 1 at Morfordville Conservatorium. He's the $5 second favourite in this field, Dave. He's had 5 starts at the track and distance for never finishing in the top 3.
Yep.
He's only won once from 7 first up goes. He's drawn wide, there's heaps of speed, he's going to have to push forward. I don't think 1100 first up's really his go. He's probably, it's just a stepping stone for his next couple of starts when you'd probably be on him. But, $5 second favourite, leave me out, he's off the bit for mine.
Yeah, that's a very tough race he's up against too, that race. Quality race in Adelaide this weekend. I'm off the bit, mate, with one of your selections. Believe yourself, race 5, number 7 in the size.